Go ahead.
Alright, hi, I'm Carlos Lazlo, and I'm going to read the following one-page story as all my characters. We'll start with Rocco.
Hamburgers sure neat, aren't they, fellas?
And Crocker says, they are neat, but nowhere as neat as Hayes!
I like this guy. It's great to finally meet you guys in person. Scoutmaster Lundfist, and it's hi from me, and a big hello from Scarlet.
Rebecca.
Oh, Rebecca Starling.
Starlight.
Rebecca Starlight. And that's it for me, Carlos Lazlo. And it's so nice to meet Rebecca Starlight. See you later, Lazlo. See you, Lazlo.
See you guys later, fairies!
Thank you. Cartoon Network 64! Camp Lazlo, one of my favorite Cartoon Network shows. It's a show about a monkey named Lazlo going to a place called Camp Kidney for the summer. He has camp adventures with other anthropomorphic animals that are 9 to 12 years old each, dealing with an angry scoutmaster and even angrier squirrel scouts. Joe Murray, the creator of this show, based this off of his childhood when he for 5 years would go to a summer camp. The irony is that this show got 5 seasons, so one season is 1 year, lol. The background in Camp Lazlo was inspired by Looney Tunes and Yogi Bear. Apparently, Joe Murray hated how cartoons looked like in the 2000s have a futuristic background. His words, not mine. He wished to create a series that would, and I quote, get back to nature. I have no idea what he fully means by that. I guess he wasn't a fan of something like My Life as a Teenage Robot in terms of aesthetics. Although, the show doesn't have much continuity, the only thing it ever continued was having the Big B mentioned in one episode and then him returning 3 episodes later to shut down Camp Kidney. This show isn't as good as SpongeBob was in seasons 1 to 3, but it was better than SpongeBob when it did air at the same time as Camp Lazlo. I also wouldn't call Camp Lazlo as good as SpongeBob is now. What probably helps Camp Lazlo's quality is having some of the classic SpongeBob writers on this. Meriwether Williams and Kaz are the most notable ones. Most notable for writing Band Geeks and Chocolate with Nuts. Let's start with our 3 main jellies. So this show was created by Joe Murray, best known for Rocko's Modern Life. I bring this up because the main character in that show was voiced by Carlos Lazlo.
Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby.
And in this show, the main character is also voiced by Carlos Lazlo. Carlos does an excellent job on the 2 of them, so I have a hard time telling which of the 2 is better. Lazlo is a conformist, meaning that he follows the rules and loves it, but I think Lazlo is his funniest when he doesn't follow the rules. Like in the episode Camp Complain when Lazlo joins Edward on ditching responsibility, even shoving the door on his friends' faces.
Ooh. Yeah.
But I do love Lazlo. He is a good character like SpongeBob. Raj is the elephant best friend of Lazlo. He's the more grounded guy. While Lazlo is off the walls fun, Raj, while on occasion gets into mischief, can be the straight man of the group. Although I wouldn't call him as much of a straight man or rule follower as Double D from Ed, Edd n Eddy. Did you know that Lazlo was supposed to have a Brazilian accent? It was denied because Cartoon Network only allowed one main character to have a strong accent, and Jeff Bennett was already doing an Indian accent for Raj. Kind of a weird rule now that I think about it. Raj loves marshmallows, hot springs, and the Tusk Fairy. He hates swimming, bugs, splinters, and pimples. And lastly, there's Clam. Did you know that Clam was supposed to be a silent character, but they changed it to him saying one word at the end? They make jokes about this in the show.
Now I know what you're thinking. Why don't I just cut you from the choir and give your part to Raj?
That's not what I'm thinking.
Well, I already tried that, and Raj said,
No way, Jose! If you fire Lazlo, I will quit in protest!
Wow, what did Clam say?
he just repeated the last word Raj said.
Protest!
Though, in one of my favorite episodes, being Edward, they have Clam actually talk for a change, but with Doug Lawrence voicing him, i.e. Edward's voice actor.
Well, if it isn't Clam. Clam here is so short that when it rains, he's the last to know.
My only downside to this episode is that now that I have seen Mimic Madness,
Am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
it's hard to be as good as that because it's the same actor that can sound like other characters. Most shows just usually get a different actor for the imitation, but here, Tom Kenny does every character in that episode. It's almost as if that episode was written just for Tom Kenny's performance. Again, I still love the Camp Lazlo episode as well. The rest of the campers at Camp Kidney are just as good. I do love the ensemble cast on Camp Kidney. Lumpus
That's Lupus, you thieves!
is an asshole, but he is what I call a fun asshole, because he usually gets the consequences that he deserves in a comedic way. Slinkman is the Scoutmaster assistant. Did you know that Slinkman is Tom Kenny's favorite role ever? He always claims that Slinkman is his favorite role in animation.
Attention Squirrel Scouts of Acorn Flats. This is Scoutmaster Slinkman announcing that today is Leave Your Scoutmaster Alone Day. Have a happy.
To Nutcracker, ready to slime. Slime's away! It's a shipwreck!
Which is something that I would have never guessed. I would think it would be someone like SpongeBob, but no, it's this slug from Camp Lazlo. My favorite character is Edward, voiced by Doug Lawrence himself. Even though it sounds a little bit like his Plankton voice, I think he does good enough acting to make it stand out and not just have him be a copy-paste Plankton. It's more dopey and cracky to be its own performance. One of the best episodes is Hello Dolly. In fact, it's my personal favorite. It's revealed that Edward secretly has a doll named Veronica. When it gets out in the open, Edward lies about the doll itself. At first, no one actually minds that Edward plays with dolls. That's an important part, by the way, to make it good. But here's the thing, Edward lies to make him not look embarrassed to himself. So he's like, oh, I can blow this doll up! He does this so he doesn't look soft to himself. The thing that makes this episode stand out is while Edward is worried of looking bad, the campers could really care less. Yeah, when it looks like Edward's caught, nobody makes a big deal of it. If anything, they accept it.
It's okay if you love your doll.
The only one who makes a big deal out of it is Edward himself. But even then, Lazlo finds out Edward really does care about Veronica and he helps him through it. And Edward's even kind of grateful. The Camp Lazlo does have some gross out. Definitely not as much as that other monkey show from the same year as this, but we'll talk about My Chipar as a Monkey later in this marathon, I'm sure. The gross out is thankfully minimal. I think it even had less gross out than Rocco's Modern Life, if I'm honest. The characters you probably want to avoid are Chip and Skip if you don't like gross out. They're dung beetles, and these twins always have flies surrounding them. With that said, I found their dumb charm funny. They also play off Edward really well. Despite Edward hating them, I recall one episode where he clones the two of them for his dung army to take over Camp Kidney. I also love them in the special, my favorite special of the series. Dave and Ping Pong are alright. I do always remember their catchphrase, sounds logical.
Sounds logical.
I also love when Dave makes fun of Edward in the sandwich episode.
Oh, he's a sap, alright.
They're common loons. I actually had to look that up for this Cartoon Network 64 episode to figure out what they are, since the show never once stated exactly what kind of species that they were. Samson is a bad luck guinea pig. Basically, whenever the show wants to show someone in pain, they usually resort to him getting it. Although my second favorite episode, next to Hello Dolly, is Hot Springs Fever, where Jeff Bennett uses his vocal performances for two characters at each other's ends fighting over a hot spring. And that episode has a funny twist that's hilarious that I'm not gonna review on here, that I want the audience themselves to check out. The show definitely really does capture this feel of summer camp. I think I did summer camp in my elementary school years, but I don't ever recall staying for like a whole summer somewhere, just a 3-day weekend at best. Also, I'm just gonna say it, the show does background characters better than Monopoly Friendship is Magic. The bronies of that show ruined what made background characters work. They basically took a random quirk that only lasted 5 seconds for the character, if that, and made that explode for their personality. Oh, this pony here had an animation error? Let's make that her entire personality! Duh! Oh, the pony all said muffin? She loves muffins all the time then! Hooray for people making mistakes in animation? It, didn't make sense now that I'm more professional at writing. I didn't realize these problems over a decade ago when I was 15 years old. What makes the background characters better here is that the show actually gives them a real personality and not a made-up one. And they also make jokes for the background characters.
This guy doesn't even have a name. You don't see him hijacking yearbooks.
Yeah!
You're not supposed to talk either.
Excuse me, pardon me, Fred, pardon me, Hippo Guy. Beg pardon, a character that I've not met till now.
How do I want to describe the brilliance of Camp Lazlo? Well, most would pass it off as a distant relative to the more iconic SpongeBob and Rocco. And that may be true, but what sets Lazlo apart from those aforementioned cartoons is its sense of childlike wonder and absurd feel of being a camper within this rundown camp. There has always been a cynical view of any given situation looming over our heroes' heads. Most creatives will often run with the idea of showcasing every ugly stain that this camp has to offer as their only gimmick. However, the reason why Camp Lazlo resonates with me as an adult is just the wholesome and relatable feeling of making use of what you got and refusing to care about how others may feel just to make it work, even when a situation feels hopeless. With enough care and determination, you can achieve any goal. no matter if the odds are stacked against you, and that's a trait I find commendable looking back and seeing the diversity in our cast of characters. You can be as oblivious as Lazlo, overly cautious as Raj, free-thinking as Clam, insecure as Edward, obedient as Slinkman, or immature as Lumpus. Traits that can often be seen as relatable as we get older, but still feel like a child at heart when walking through memory lane and reminiscing on simpler times, whether or not you've actually gone to a summer camp. We've always known somebody in our lives that has one of these traits, past or present, and they can easily put ourselves in that mindset. Regardless, if the show stars a Brazilian monkey, a sponge, your average kid, or just some worker at an office space, you can make it work. The show is basically one aspect of your childhood looked through an adult's lenses, while also having fun with itself at the same time as any episodic comedy should. It isn't just off-the-walls lunacy. There's obviously other shows on Cartoon Network that fit the bill, but the exaggerated nature of a basic everyday situation or an occurrence you've dealt with in your youth is enough of a fine line to cross. Especially when you consider Lazlo's stiff competition at the time. I could go on about the uniqueness of the show's 1960s vintage postcard feel, right down to the warming shades of yellow encompassing each background. The impact the show has made by having Thorup Van Orman and J.G. Quinto of Flapjack and regular show fame on board before those shows were even a thing. Murray was also a fighter. He always insisted on adding relatable female characters in the show to please his daughters, even though the network was kind of against female characters at the time. Who am I kidding? They're still against female characters, having only 7 cartoons star women. When Joe Murray made a female character, he wanted to make sure that they weren't sticking stones bare bones, and not be filled with stereotypes. For crying out loud, Jodie Benson, Ariel from The Little Mermaid voices Patsy and Jane Doe? And they're both great characters. Jane Doe is a nice character. I love her upbeat personality, seeing the good in others, how she adores Lupus. The only downside to her is that her name is unfortunately used for certain situations, let's say in the real world, that are bad. And that's all I want to say on that. Other than that, I see nothing wrong with her. She's just a sweet sweetheart.
Hi, Jane. I was just...
Well, I didn't know you were a rock buckskin fan. Oh,
What?
please, come on in. Oh, and I see you brought your pet slug.
It's Slinkman, ma'am. I'm his assistant, remember?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Of course, Slug Man. Well, why don't you slither on in?
Miss Mucus, on the other hand, is the opposite of Jane Doe. She's gnarly, she's nasty, she treats the girls like boot camp, and honestly, I wasn't a big fan of her character. Luckily, she's never the focus or stays on long, so this never really bothered me. Hell, in Mascot Madness, when she fights the mascot Edward, I thought she was a good antagonist for that because the goal was to see her fail. But I don't think she's too bad, so I can defend her character. Let's not forget the other Jodie Benson role, Patsy. Patsy is technically a I only hurt you because I love you girl, but I'm not bothered by her because Lazlo very rarely takes issue with this. Not to mention that Patsy actually does try to help out in any situation that is tossed upon her, and she also does not spit out a nonsensical feminism. Which would be nice to see even more characters, but in 2010s and especially 2020s, they don't want to go in that direction. They rather shout that they're a woman instead of state I'm a woman. Luckily, Camp Lazlo never went that direction. I'm thankful for that. Camp Lazlo is often seen as this mediocre show that's often overlooked by the heavy hitters of the network or its contemporaries. But in my eyes, it's often the underrated cult-like gem of CN's mid-2000s offering. If you could get past the illusion of it being simply some hyperactive cartoon and see it as a fun little romp of capturing camp life, then I think these young tenderfoots who seek greener pastures will probably take you along for the ride. I do want to bring up the feminism aspect again because I do find it admirable in the show. Why am I bringing this up again? Because, well, in the cartoons I grew up with, they weren't really the best per se. In the 2000s, feminism shows weren't the best, like the female star was, or even shows with female main characters, even if it was a male star show. There usually was that one cartoon episode, or in worst cases, whole shows, where the women try to overpower the men. Foster's was one of the more infamous examples. See my Cartoon Network 64 episode explaining the why. I mean, Camp Lazlo kind of does that. Like, the Squirrel Scouts are better than the Bean Scouts. But I think it works because none of the Bean Scouts care. They kind of like being more laid back and less strict, even if it means they're more poor and dumber. I mean, the Bean Scouts were close to winning a bean stacking record, so there's that, and they all got subs. Sandwiches, that is. Camp Lazlo is a show I can defend to the end of time, because I really do love it. The series finale, however, is something that I can't defend. You may or may not know this, but Camp Lazlo has an infamous series finale when it comes to animation fans. It's not the absolute worst per se, this isn't as bad as something like Things Change or Operation Interviews, but it's probably creepier than both, definitely weirder than the two. The finale is my least favorite episode of the whole series. If Hello Dolly is the best episode of the show, then this is the worst. So, Lupus's last stand is about Lupus being frustrated about wearing clothes. I'm not even trying to make a joke. Yes, regularly in Camp Lazlo, the characters wear clothing. Like, even Slinkman, when he does his racing stuff, he wears special clothing in the Super Slug episode. Why is Lupus angry about clothing, of all things? This never was discussed earlier in the show, by the way. So in this episode, Lupus tries to convince the whole town to burn their clothes off and wear paint over them so that the need of clothing is gone forever. And here I thought Kill la Kill was weird in that regard. You know, the show where they tried to say clothing was evil, like, remember Kill la Kill saying that? Nah, let's just burn our clothes and take all the leftover clothes and mold them into a statue of Lupus with beings in the future that wouldn't make sense time travel wise. There's also a part where it rains and then the whole town is naked, including children. What the fuck? And then this happens?
That's him, officer! That's the bad moose who locked me in the closet all summer and stole my job as Scoutmaster. He fooled all of you. He's an imposter, a fake, and worse, he is no Scoutmaster of Camp Kidney!
Yep, well, let's just have, like, this fake guy who kind of looks like Heifer from Rocko's Modern Life, but they couldn't get the rights for Heifer from Rocko's Modern Life. I like how Samson says this.
Okay, I think it just officially got to the point where it can't get any weirder.
He was building this up. In the episode Test Squizzard, he says this.
Yep, just keeps getting weirder.
And in the episode Waiting for Edward, he said this at the end.
It just keeps getting weirder, doesn't it?
And now he said the world has reached max weirdness. Yeah, Camp Lazlo is really good. 9 out of 10, A tier show. It can get weird at times, but hey, I had a lot of fun watching this again. And that's all that I got for Camp Lazlo. Okay, that's all the Cartoon Network 64 episodes I'm doing for this year. Time for church. I need to get my Sunday pants.
Coming up on the Cartoon Network.